Hello everybody, it's Ronnie with Whip and Chain. I got a nice easy one for you. I know dishwash cloths and scrubbies are very popular because we go through them like crazy. And I decided to do one in Christmas colors now that our next holiday is Christmas. This is a two-sided dishcloth. I am not using the scrubby yarn. This is just 100% cotton. If you want to use the scrubby yarn that I made in this one, you're more than welcome to, because this one is just double crochets, very easy stitches, so you'll be able to see your stitches. So it is absolutely your choice on what you want to do. The sky's the limit for you. But let's dive into what we need, and we're going to move on. You're going to need a darning needle. You will need a pair of scissors, a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. When you do projects that you're doing dishes with, or you're doing hot pads, stuff that's in the kitchen that's used, you don't want to go larger. You want to go smaller in your hook because it makes the project more dense. And that really helps. And I will never ever, you will never ever hear me recommend acrylic yarn for things that are being physically used in the kitchen. Now for the towel holders, all they're doing is holding your towels. You can use acrylic, but if you're doing hot pads and dish stuff and even dish towels, you will always hear me recommend 100% cotton, because the other different types of yarns out there can melt, it can burn you, you can get hurt. There's so many negative things that can happen. So please never use anything but 100% cotton in the kitchen. Okay, so this is an easy one, easy peasy, and I am using, this is yarn that I had, Sugar and Cream. This one's called Mistletoe. I personally like, let me see what I got here. Oh, if I can reach it. I personally like Crafter's Secret cotton yarn, but I'm bouncing all over the place. I get a lot of yarn just given to me, so I use it. But if I'm gonna buy something, I really try to stick with Hobby Lobby. And the nice thing about Hobby Lobby yarn, it's on 30% sale every other week. You can't beat that. But guilty confession, I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday, which was considered Black Friday. Their yarn was not on their 30% off this week, but yet I still bought a ton of stuff. I'm addicted to yarn and crafts, and I love it. It makes me happy. Now we're starting this project off with the magic ring. If you do not want to do a magic ring or a magic circle, you can do a chain 4, slip stitch to the first chain. Then I want you to chain 2. If you're doing the magic circle, magic ring, you already do a chain 1, so all you have to do is chain 1 more. Now these, we're going to make 2 of these. So I'm going to show you how to do it one time, but you need 2 of them, okay? So in your circle, you need to put in a total of 12. This chain 2 does not count. You need 12 double crochets. So let me show you. Some people are struggling with how to do a double crochet. Let me demonstrate a couple. You wrap the hook, you go in through your center, you grab yarn, you come on up, you wrap it, you go through 2, then you wrap it again, and you go through 2 more. That is a double crochet. So again, you wrap, go in, bring some yarn up, you wrap, you go through 2, you wrap, you go through 2. That is how you do a double crochet. and 12. And then pull your center closed and make sure you slip stitch to the top of the first full double crochet. Make sure you're not slip stitching to the chain 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and there's my first double crochet. Okay, chain 2 does not count as anything, and in that same stitch where you slip stitch to, I want you to put in 2 double crochets. It's 1 and 2. Now in every stitch I want you to put in 2 double crochets. One and 2. One and 2. And just keep doing 2 double crochets in every single stitch going around. Let's do one more together and then I will meet you at the end. There. All right. Okay, I'm down to my last stitch, and this has been a big controversy on how to handle this, because it looks like you have 2 stitches left, but you only have 1 stitch left. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on this, but I want to explain something. If you just put your 2 double crochets in this last stitch, which is what you're supposed to do, you're going to have a gap when you join. It's a very noticeable gap. So I noticed on other crochet groups on Facebook that when I suggested what I'm going to tell you now, it just didn't make sense to them because they thought it was adding a stitch, and it's really not adding a stitch, and it's really not taking away a stitch. It's adding just the correct amount of stitches that you're supposed to have in the project. And I think I lost my puppy. So my dog likes to be here with me, and there's his piggy toes. I'm afraid that's him making noises. I just don't want him to get in anything that I can't see in my craft room. He's only allowed in here when I'm in here. But there he is. There's his piggy toe. So if you hear moaning and groaning, that's him. Okay, so let's get back. So each stitch was getting 2 double crochets. So you put in your first one normally. Right there she is. Now to do the second, even though this stitch is already occupied by the chain 2 and the 2 double crochets, it's still going to look like there's a gap here. So what I want you to do is you wrap your hook, you go into the same stitch as your first double crochet because you want 2 in that same one. You bring yarn up and you wrap and you just go through 2. Okay, now I want you to wrap your hook again and you go into this joining stitch right here and you bring up some yarn, you wrap and you go through 2, then you wrap and you go through all 3 loops. So it's called a 2 together double crochet. And now when you join, there's no gap. You can't tell where it began. You cannot tell where it ended. And that is what I do recommend. You don't have to do that. If you want, you can just put a normal second double crochet stitch in there. But as you progress in your crocheting knowledge and whatever you decide to branch out on, like I'm trying to make this a part-time career, I need to find ways to make it look seamless. Like there's no beginning, there's no end. It's just beautiful work. And this is one way to do that. I love it. And I will be doing a separate video on this because it's really important to know your options. And you can do this with double crochet, single crochet, trebles. You can do it with all the stitches. It doesn't matter what stitch it is, but this is a good way to fill in that gap. It's not adding or taking away a stitch, and it looks beautiful. So, all right, let's move on to the third and final round. So I want you to chain 2. That does not count as anything. And in that same stitch, I want you to put in 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Now in the next stitch, I want you to put in just 1 double crochet. And then the next one, 2 double. And 2. And the next one is just 1. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. So in one stitch you put in 1 double crochet, and the next stitch you put in 2 double crochet. And then 1 double crochet, and then 2. And then I'm going to meet you at the end of this and show you again how to do the end so it looks seamless if you're interested. Okay, coming around now, since we started with 2 double crochets in our first chain, we're going to end with just 1 double crochet. Okay, so you wrap your hook, go in, grab some yarn, come on up, wrap your hook, go through 2. Wrap your hook and you go into this chain where your chain 2 and 2 double crochets are coming in. You go in there, you grab some yarn, bring it up, wrap, you go through 2. Then you wrap and you go through all 3 and you join to your first stitch. So it's just 1 double crochet in there, but it was a 2 together double crochet. So you're doing 2 double crochets, but they're joined as 1. And look how seamless that looks. And I've also done it on here so you can see. You honestly can't see where the beginning and the end is of the red, which is lovely. So now we're going to chain 1, wrap, and tie off. And again, like I said, you're going to need 2 of these. And the other thing I want to talk about is your ends. You really do not need to weave in your ends on this project, but if you are planning on giving it to somebody, it probably is a better idea, because when you're using this, because I have my ends in the center here, if an end pops out, the person might think that they ruined the project or that something was wrong. So it's just it's a thought. You do what's best for you. It's just a piece of information to think about. Now you can do this 2 ways. You can keep the yarn on your second circle if you're using the same yarn, but I am opting to change yarn. So because of that option, I cut off. I am going to use, and this is why I like Hobby Lobby yarn. Look, I pulled this out of Sugar and Cream, and this happens a lot, more than I would like it to. So now we're going to do our slip knot. You want to put the 2 backs together. Very important. Now I like to start it where I ended it so I can get it done, but you don't have to. You can actually start a couple stitches back. You can actually start anywhere you want. Totally your choice, but make sure the 2 backs are together. So you put your hook through both. You tie on your yarn. Bring it through. Okay. And chain 2. 1 and 2. Now in these same 2 stitches, I want you to put 2 double crochets in the same stitch that you're coming out of. This is 1 2. Make sure you're going through the same stitch. Okay, wrap your hook. Now you can push these ends down towards the center because that's where you want them locked in. Go into the next stitch and you put in 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Wrap your hook, you go into the next stitch, which is your joining, or wherever you started, that's fine. There it is. I knew it was going to take me a minute to find it. There we go. Yarn through and do a double crochet. I'm going off camera. And then you do another one in that same one. Make sure you're not bringing up any other yarn, and 2 double crochets. Wrap your hook, go into your next stitch. There we go. And you do 2 double crochets. And by going over where you started and finished pretty quickly, then the rest of the project's easy. I like to get the hard part out of the way. So then in every stitch going around, you put in 2 double crochets. So once you're through the hard part, the stitches should basically line up for you, which is very nice. And this project is a fairly quick project, something that I enjoy. I enjoy working on the big projects, but there's some kind of satisfaction when you're doing these small ones and you get them done in a little bit of time and it feels good. So I'm going to leave you till we get to the last stitch again, and then we will meet up there. Okay, I've come around. I have one more stitch to do. So I'm going to put in my first one. I'm going to wrap. The second one I'm going to put in that stitch as it belongs. Wrap and go through 2. Wrap and you go into that first one. You wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through all 3. And then you can slip stitch join just like that. Now, you can always add, this is something different, but you can always add a loop if you want. At the end, you can chain 10, wrap it around, and slip stitch it to your first stitch if you want one that's hanging. I'm not a big fan for my dishes with the loop, but you can. So, chain 1, pull through, and then you just take a darning needle, Both sides are good, okay? So what I do recommend is you go into a stitch and you weave it. Okay. And you do it up through the stitches so it's really not noticeable where you secured your yarn in. And I do recommend you doing this like 3 times. Back and forth 3 times. And then I'll go down and stitch again. And then I'll go over a couple. But then what I do is I go down and I make sure I'm in the center of my project. And then I just come on up. And then what you do is you cut it. And then you cannot see where you began and where you ended. So this is a wonderful dishcloth pattern. I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you on our next many crochet videos. I'm Ronnie. I work with Maggie and Lauren to bring you beautiful crochet tutorials. And if you could help us out and hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom, we greatly appreciate it. And come find us on Facebook under WIP for Work in Progress and Chain. And join us. We're going to be getting ready to do our 12 Days of Christmas projects. We're going to be just banging projects out. So come find us. Until next time, happy crocheting, everybody. Bye-bye.